So we are going straight to the definition. Have you found it, Abu?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going straight to the definition of, we're going to the standing orders in Parliament, and we're looking at majority and minority. We'll read it, and then we'll come and discuss it in the studio, and then from there we'll look at Parliament. So let's put on the screen, the first one is a definition of a majority leader, and let's all read it. Okay, so there it is on your screen. Majority leader means a member of Parliament designated by the party or parties holding majority of the seats in the House as their recognized leader in the House. Majority leader means a member of Parliament designated by the party or parties holding majority of the seats in the House as their recognized leader. So that's from the standing orders of Parliament. Let's look at minority leader. Let's look at minority leader. Okay, so minority leader is a member of Parliament designated by the party. Now it doesn't say parties. The party having the largest numerical strength in Parliament other than the party that has formed the government as they recognize it. Now I have issue with this one because this one looks like something we imported from Britain. It says here that the minority leader is the leader of the party other than the party that formed the government. But under our constitution and under our arrangement, you could have the government, which is the executive, and still lose Parliament. So we cannot work with the minority leader, and I urge both of you members of Parliament to ask for this standing order to be struck out because it doesn't reflect what happens in Ghana at all. This is clearly a British borrowed system where in Britain, the party that forms the government is usually the majority party or party. So other than that party, it's definitely the minority. But here, you can win the presidency and lose the Parliament. So let's go back to the definition of majority leader, which we can use. Yes, so majority leader means a member of Parliament designated by the party or parties holding majority of the seats in the House. Now, this party or parties is where our interest is. We're going to finish this argument today. Abu, let me hear you first. What is your understanding of party or party? So the mathematical situation is you MPP have 137 as of today, NDC have 137. In that context, none of you has majority. But there's one independent candidate. How do you anticipate this standing order to include that independent candidate? It says party or parties. That independent candidate is not a party. He's independent. He's not PNC. He's not CPP. He's independent. What do you say?
Well, first of all, I think the controversy about majority, minority, with the greatest respect, I think it's quite needless because it's pretty straightforward. When you read this provision of the standing order, it's very, very straightforward. There cannot be any other conclusion based on how you interpret the
party or parties.
So very straightforward. I mean, you have different political parties in Ghana, and then people also contest on the ticket of independent as independent candidates. So if you have a situation where there is no one political party that has a clear majority, which is there's no political party with 138 seats in Parliament. When you have a political party with 138 seats in Parliament,
that's the majority.
Then you stay at the point of party, the party with majority in Parliament, which is what has been the case throughout the Fourth Republican dispensation. In every election since 1992, one party gets majority, that's the party. Then all parties, which is this situation, where different political parties win constituencies or have seats in the Parliament, and independent candidates, actually. And yet, you do not have one political party with a clear majority with 138. Then, the political parties and or the independent candidates will have to form, if you want, for want of a better expression, coalition, groupings, caucusing, in order for the parties, that's the second part, to form a majority. So the independent candidate ought to be construed as being part of the parties. I mean, that is the intendment of the framework.
So in this case, MPP and the independent candidate will be the parties.
Yeah, the parties
that form the majority of 138.
If you don't construe, Paul, if you don't construe the independent candidate or candidate as being part of the parties, then you are taking the sacred fundamental right of having a seat in that parliament, then you are suggesting that when a person contests as an independent candidate to become a member of parliament, when it comes to the decision of which group or caucus constitute the majority in that house, that member of parliament, just on account of him being an independent member of parliament, has no say in that decision.
Well, but he has to agree that he wants to join the
He's
MPP, with the MPP.
He's at liberty to do that.
Yeah, to do.
Yeah, but if he elects to do that, he ought to be construed as being part or as being within
the definition of
the
parties.
definition of parties. Now, so if you have MPP with 100 seats in parliament, we have a 275 seat situation in the Ghanaian parliament. If you have MPP with 100 seats, NDC with 100 seats, and 75 being independent, are we now suggesting that when we are construing or making a determination as to which caucus constitutes the majority parties, the independents will not be part? I mean, the 75 independents are supposed to stand aside, lose their right of being members of parliament, and just the party, MPP, NDC, determines who becomes.
Okay, I get the point you're making. So if you change your equation to MPP 100, NDC say 110, and independent 65, if we stay with party, the majority party will be the 110. But in fact, they are in the minority of the 275. I get the point.
No, they will not be the majority.
No, you don't get me. I get the point you're making. The absurdity.
Yeah, the absurdity.
If you construe it to be party only,
yes,
then MPP 100, NDC 110,
they are not majority.
and 65 independent, you can't call the 110
exactly
the party in majority.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's why it's party or party. So in that case, it will be 110 or 100, anyone that gets the 65.
Exactly.
They will be the parties
or more of it in order to get the 138. But,
okay.
But even for me, more importantly, is to say, if you interpret it to mean that the independents are not within the internment of parties, then you are suggesting that once you contest a seat as independent and you get to parliament, your right of determining which grouping or caucus constitutes the majority has been taken away from you. And I'll just make a final point, which is that in these matters, Paul, I think the Ghanaian people have created a situation for us in Ghana which bestows a certain responsibility on all of us to be able to give effect to their will. We have the executive that put an agenda before the people, which the people endorse. We have a parliament which no political party has a clear majority. This 8th parliament, more than any other parliament, has a very big responsibility. And that responsibility, for me, must be discharged responsibly in a way that will ensure that we have a smooth administration of this country. And in discussing this matter, we always have to bear in mind that the pendulum can swing at any time. So whatever positions we take now, they must be the positions which are in accord with the principles enunciated by the standing orders. I think it's very clear.
Is it a complicated standing order? Is it complicated?
Well, first of all, I would like to begin with this preamble. The watershed moment, the historic outcome in Parliament, so far as the December 7, 2020 elections is concerned. We should be excited about this. Lovers of democracy, good governance, advocates. And look, many people are reaching out. I mean, diplomatic corps, civil society organizations, they are fascinated about this outcome. I mean, it was
the outcome that no party has a clear majority.
Yes, and which has an icing on the cake, that the Speaker of Parliament, for the first time, is not from the political party of the sitting president. Never happened. I mean, this is what theorists like the Baron de Montesquieu in 1748
envisaged
and propounded, and the likes of Thomas Hobbes, Immanuel Kant,
and Ghana has achieved it.
Advocated
300 years later,
and hundreds of years later, we've achieved that.
That's interesting.
It's monumental.
Fundamentally,
we should be excited about this outcome. And as I said in my latest article, it imposes on us the need to be very reflective, very sober. We should put the supreme national interest first. Because now
I couldn't agree more.
you cannot have a situation where the executive will think that, look, we have the numbers. It doesn't matter what they say. We will have our way. In Ghana, what has happened is what Giuseppe and Gilbert and co call the executive dominance theory, where the executive really controls parliament. So there's no countervailing force.
Yeah.
No countervailing force, you know. And political scientists, constitutional lawyers will tell you that it doesn't help build a country and develop a country and strengthen a democracy as it should.
It's a demerit of democracy.
It's a demerit of democracy. And so we are seeing something very refreshing, very positive. And I see some people being anxious. There's a lot of anxiety. They think that, you know, this country may ground to a halt or is a negative. Not at all. Not at all. And we in the NDC, our mindset is not to make the country ungovernable. I tell people
That's very positive to hear.
I tell people that, look, if the president, the executive, and without prejudice to how the Supreme Court case will be determined, at least in this short period to the determination, is bringing a major road project, and the agreement is good, the terms are fine, nobody is being fleeced, and we are needlessly obstructive, and we stop that project. Do you know the consequences when we go back to our constituencies? So what's all this anxiety, what's all this hysteria about? If you have nothing to hide, if the agreements, the deals you bring to the house will be squeaky clean, there is nothing to hide. It's not some Ejapa-like kind of deal. You should have nothing to fear. And we want to serve that notice very clearly, that we will not be obstructionists, because there will be consequences. We are only excited that for the first time, Parliament will be treated with respect, accorded, you know, that dignity. It will not be seen as a rubber stamp, some lame duck institution where you just have your way. So I think that fundamentally, that's the first point I want to make. Now to the issues of majority leader and who will be minority leader and all of that. In the first place, let's be honest to admit that the standing orders as it stands now is woefully inadequate. It does not contemplate a lot of these outcomes. So there's a lot of conjecture and a lot of things happening, discussions going on that are not in these standing orders. And that's why, as part of the Adom-Otchere, Professor Okwe legacy, they started a review of the standing orders. And to Professor Okwe's credit, they went very far. It was even late. We would have taken it before the dissolution of the 7th Parliament, except that members raised some concerns. They reduced the numbers on the committees to very, very, you know, limited numbers, which a lot of backbenchers were not happy about. And that's how come it didn't pass. You know,
but you want to reduce ministers.
I do not support that. I do not support that. In any case, the reduction of committees does not affect the 275 MPs, and it imposes no extra,
you take committee
extra charge.
Don't you take
it takes no extra charge on the exchequer. But back to the substantive point. I agree with you, Paul, on some of even the provision on the minority leader. Clearly, I know that the new standing orders looked at that. So let us admit that what has happened now, this novelty, this historic development, is not really contemplated by these standing orders. So we will rely, first of all, on standing orders 5 and 6.
Which is what?
The experience of the speaker, the wisdom of the speaker,
okay,
will come to bear. Standing Order 5 says, in case of doubt, these orders shall be interpreted by Mr. Speaker as he deems fit.
Oh, okay.
Standing Order 6 then says that in all cases not provided for in these orders, Mr. Speaker shall make provisions as he deems fit.
Not provided for.
Not provided for. This standing orders does not provide for a hung parliament. We are here assuming that the independent candidate will work with one side, will agree to sit with one side. He's under no obligation to do that.
That's correct.
Because Samia Nkrumah, if you look at the parliamentary history, Samia Nkrumah wrote to the speaker and said that I will be independent through and through. I do not intend to sit with any side or work with any side. On my way here, I checked with the Speaker's office, and there's no communication from the independent candidate. As of this evening,
Nkrumah was a party candidate of the CPP, actually. Even though she was not an independent candidate as such.
Yes,
but she was the only non-NDC MPP member of the House. Yeah.
Yes, and she had the option to caucus
absolutely.
with any side.
And you are saying that there's no communication yet from
Fomina to the Speaker.
Who is now second deputy speaker.
Yes, who is second deputy speaker. No communication yet, whether he wants to align here or there.
But if he does,
so in the scenario that he doesn't and decides to be independent.
What if he does?
If he doesn't, it's 137.
If he does, 137, 137.
Now,
low clear majority.
if he does,
but if he does,
we must also appreciate that under Article 97H, there's a very tight rope he must walk. It's very limited. Article 97H says a member of Parliament shall vacate his seat in Parliament H if he was elected a member of Parliament as an independent candidate and joins a political party.
Yeah, that's different.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, so.
But working with MPP doesn't mean he's joined the party.
Doing business with MPP.
Yes, so it's a tightrope. It's a
that
limited.
Also requires some interpretation.
Limited arena. Yes.
Oh no.
Yes,
yeah.
because
you hear joining the party, you have to take a card.
Yes,
but sometimes you have to procure a card.
Yes, but
Paul, be a member of a constituency.
Yes, but so for example, if I may ask,
so
if an independent candidate decides to caucus with, and then party general secretary says that on this matter, our party feels strongly, 3-line whip, all party members must comply. Is the independent candidate obliged to do that? And if he does, is he not crossing the line?
Well, but the 3-line whip, the 3-line whip is a matter of caucus. It's not for the general public.
But yes,
so
caucus,
you can't cite it.
But no, it's caucus and it's party discipline.
Yes,
party discipline requires that you must, because if you do not, the party can even. That's what the Fomina MPs.
But the independent candidate, if he submits himself to a 3-line whip, that should not be interpreted as he joining the political party.
No,
because if I join the MPP, I will obtain a card, I'll become a member of the constituency. Those are the elements of joining an NDC. If I want to join NDC,
so are you saying that all party members necessarily have cards?
No, the definition of a party member is that your name must be on the party roll.
So I'm saying that in these matters, I would defer to the Speaker.
Okay.
I'll defer to, because there are many portions of this discussion that are not contemplated by the current standing orders.
I get your point.
So I'll just defer to the Speaker.
The point you're making is that the ambiguity of the standing orders plus Article 97, which you read, leads you to the view that this matter requires a ruling.
A ruling from the Speaker.
Fair enough.
I want to very quickly associate myself with the sentiments expressed by Honorable Okudjeto to the effect that the good people of this country are going to watch with keen eyes how this 8th Parliament evolves and how it conducts itself. And indeed, I believe if this Parliament were to prevail eventually, it will be to the credit of Ghanaian democracy. Because what has happened, as he quite rightly put it, is novel. And it's never happened before that we have this situation. Now, he's talked about the executive having the historical situation of pushing through his agenda through Parliament and the rest. There is a flip side of also an unhealthy attempt to frustrate the business of government and also leading the country into a deadlock. So I believe that the pundits will be watching from both sides. The pundits will be watching, and even more, especially in my view, they'll be watching how members of Parliament conduct themselves and how this Parliament as a collective will discharge its responsibilities. I believe that the delineations are very clear. The executive power of this country is vested in a president who has been elected by the Ghanaian people. The legislative power is vested in the Parliament. The Parliament is supposed to have oversight on the work of the executive, and that responsibility must be discharged responsibly and must be discharged in a reasonable manner. And so we watch all of that. Just so that I conclude. The speaker we have, I mean, is not a speaker from the MPP stock, and the MPP did not support his candidature or nomination. But I don't think there's anybody in this country or any student of Ghanaian politics who will come to the conclusion that Right Honorable Speaker Babin is somebody who can be pushed around. I believe the average-minded Ghanaian sees him as a very fair, independent, with an independent mind and spirit, and the courage to be able to do what is right by the Ghanaian people. And also never forget that he took an oath. He's taken an oath to be fair to all manner of persons and to discharge his duties fairly in the House. And above all, Paul, in all the considerations, minority, majority, NDC, MPP, and all of that, there is also the public interest. And the public interest must feature in all that we do and all that we say. I recall in America, in the 2008 elections, Senator Obama and Senator McCain, when there was the potential of a shutdown in America. And both of them, Senator McCain had to suspend his campaign. Senator Obama had to fly to the White House with President Obama chairing. And in a crunch meeting, the American public opinion was brought to bear and to compel the candidates who were then senators to get their various caucuses to compromise for a deal to be struck at the time and to avert a shutdown in America. There have been several occasions like today as we speak. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, is not a member of the Republican Party.
No, at all.
She's a member of the Democratic Party. In fact, under President Obama, it's John Boehner, I think, was also a member of the Republican Party. Yeah. And every now and again, compromises are reached for the ultimate good of the national interest and for in accord with the public interest. So the Ghanaian people are also going to watch how the minority in parliament and the opposition in parliament conducts itself, how the majority will conduct itself, and the collaboration that will exist between the executive and the legislature. Well, this is the obsession about Ajapa, Paul. This obsession about Ajapa. I don't know what is so fundamentally wrong with
Paul,
Japan.
it's